Hi everyone. The TD Ottawa Jazz Festival would like nothing more than to welcome you to our main stage at Confederation Park, downtown Ottawa. That's our home. But as we all know, that's not going to happen. So we've got the next best thing and are bringing the music to you through a series called Tenacity, which will unfold every day for the next 10 days and will feature some of the brightest and most unique artists from all over the world. You'll get to meet and hear artists from Berlin, New York, Boston, Vancouver, Ottawa, Serbia, and other places. This series is different. This series is Jazz Today. It's vibrant, courageous, tenacious, and masterfully original. Thanks for joining us. This is Jazz in 2020.
Good evening and welcome to OLG Chats. I'm James Hale from Downbeat Magazine, and I'm here every evening during Tenacity to give you some additional highlights in the music of our featured performers. This evening, something very special for La Fête Nationale. We bring you the words and music of Elisapie, who lives in Montreal but comes from Salouet at the northernmost point, that's hard to say, of Quebec. She comes from Quebec, yes, but her territory long predates the formation of the province, and that reality is reflected in her music. She's won both JUNO and Felix awards for her music, and her latest recording was shortlisted for the Polaris Prize, and I'm extremely happy to welcome her to OLG Chats. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Nakomik. Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about your first experiences with music. What music were you exposed to as a child?
Oh my. Well, I guess when you're from a small Inuit town, small little town, we didn't have a lot of music daily like we could have, like my children could have here. So every Sunday we went to our Anglican church, and that's where I sang.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually hymn songs that started my love for music, because my mother, very early age, she recognized something in me, so she would expose me to like the whole family. Whenever they would come over, she would put me on the table, and I'd have to sing these hymn songs. So me not being a religious person now, well, then it wasn't so much about religion part, but I guess the music and the beautiful melodies that comes from Anglican church, a lot more than Catholic church, I would say, sorry. But and then my uncle was this had this rock group that is still out there. They're still out there. It's like, what, 50-year-old rock folk group called Sugluk.
Mm-hmm.
They were known as Sugluk, but they're actually called Sadlit Band. And yeah, they were my huge influence. So and I'm also adopted. I mean, my adoptive family is still in the same town, and then my biological family is also very musical. So it was very natural. And right away, Neil Young, Bob Dylan, later on Buffy, Leonard Cohen. I'm kind of stuck over in that era. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that really, also being Inuk and indigenous, I think the music that came in the 60s, 70s are very precious for us, because we feel they came in and filled the void, or not the void, but during a very hard time when we were transitioning to modern world. So I can't listen to Fleetwood Mac without crying, like
Mm.
Rumors album, or because it takes me back to that place where things were still very, I don't know, nomadic lifestyle or feel in the small town. And then very quickly in the 80s, 90s, we knew suicide. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so there's that era that is very, I guess I really connect to that kind of music, because it's memories also, like,
Sure,
yeah.
sure. So what was your transition point from singing in the Anglican church to performing, outside of church?
Anglican Church to Tiffany, and then later on Metallica to
It's a good choice.
yeah, it's pretty eclectic. I'd say I pretty much love every music. I kind of have to because I'm now a performer. I've been on the road and making music since the last 15 years, and I really respect all forms, all sorts of music because there are people who write these songs, right? So
Hmm.
I guess Willie Thrash's album Spirit Child came back to haunt me during a very difficult, I'd say postpartum depression, but I'd
Hmm.
say it's much more than that. That's a few years ago. The music I would listen to because I would work at the radio station in the north, and I'd play these very old, stinky vinyls. Like they were like really old, but they're like so. I don't want to say stinky, but nowadays we have new vinyls. But back in the in the middle.
I worked in campus radio. You're speaking my language.
Oh, but they're so precious. So Willie
Sure.
Thrasher, I really reconnected, and I think it's through his music that was recorded in '81, actually by CBC Recordings.
Hmm.
That really changed. It became the foundation of my album because I was able to finally open something and face my fears. It was like a kind of a therapeutical spiritual journey I went through his music, and that changed everything for me. And then came the songs from the Ballad of the Runaway Girl. The
Hmm.
song, The Ballad of the Runaway Girl, is actually my uncle's song he wrote in the late 70s. So
Hmm.
it became the title of this album too. So it's a bit of an homage, I'd say, to people around me who went through residential schools and
Hmm.
so many hardships. So they were my big inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah. I know you were drawn toward journalism and specifically radio journalism, but was a career also a career in music also on your mind when you journeyed south to Montreal?
Yeah, of course. I wanted to go into communications. I did creative arts, but very quickly I met Alain Auger, with who I did an album. We had a duo called Taima. So yeah, I was very lucky to I didn't even consider myself a singer, and I was touring like 2 years. It was just so like something you don't really do. My uncle is a teacher. So many singer-songwriters that we would say singer-songwriters now, but then they were water truck drivers to all
Hmm.
sorts of. It's just not something you make a living, or even even artists. The word artist, I don't even know the how to translate that in Inuktitut. So
Hmm.
it's something, but yet we are very, very expressive. We always found a way to express ourselves, like through singing, storytelling. So yeah, I think there's maybe a proper way to say artist, which doesn't translate into artist, but it's something else, right?
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
that title that it's still very beautiful when I come back home in the north to be reminded by being around people, elders, that it's you don't have a title, you're just,
Hmm.
someone aspiring to grow old and to be a wise person. So that's the purpose of your life.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, it's always beautiful to have that way of seeing life. Yeah.
Now, you recently posted an extremely strong message to the people of Quebec regarding the relationship between the province and Indigenous people who've
Mm-hmm.
lived on the land for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's now had well over a million views at that point. Could I ask you just to summarize your message, because it was in French,
Mm-hmm.
and that complex love relationship you talked about
Yeah.
towards the end of it?
Yeah, I mean, I talk about just like I would to all Canadians, right? But it's just I grew up in Nunavik in the province of Quebec, and I grew up in Montreal pretty much more than half of my life. So I learned a lot. I was very curious about the people here. I would go to different regions and I'd be like, okay, I love their dialect. It's so different. And I had the luck to speak French. I mean, my mother wanted me to speak French. She didn't speak English or French. And so I think it was about time for me to really, in a friendly way, say, I loved you guys so much. I loved your music. I loved Félix Leclerc, Richard Desjardins, Jean Leloup. I love your art, but how come I feel more connected to a Haitian author, Daniela Ferrière and Kim Tsui? I think I needed to ask them a few questions first, because I feel people want to hear, people want to be, want dialogue, but I think the system is a little still very slow. TV show producers are still in this very old mentality, and it was about time that I kind of speak to them, because these are my friends, a lot of my friends. These are my peers, and I didn't expect for people to react and share this very long letter. I mean, it's long, one pager, I'd say. So it's been very, very beautiful to see. And I because I always think, how can you be ignorant about people around you? Like every few kilometers in a big city, there's indigenous like people living there, and I think I kind of wanted them to just reflect on the territory where they are, just like I have been for so long, trying to adapt and trying to learn and curious. That's all I ask people, and I think that really struck something deep in people's hearts. Yeah,
Well, it's a powerful message, and I certainly encourage anyone who hasn't seen it yet to seek it out on your Instagram page.
I mean,
it's
I
worth
could just
reading.
translate it in English. It could be for Canada Day too.
Yeah.
It was also to acknowledge that how come we don't have still now in 2020 a special holiday. Today nobody's working because it's La Saint Jean, and Canada Day. Everyone's gonna also take the time, feel. Get to know Canada or whatever, but Indigenous Day and Solstice is the most beautiful time of the year in the summer, June 21. How come it's still not a national holiday? I mean, it'd be so beautiful for all people to be able to celebrate with us. So that was mainly the inspiration behind that letter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It really is. I'm really excited to share your music with our audience. Maybe you could tell us a bit about what we'll be seeing and hearing, and who's playing with you.
Yes, it's gonna be Afnacht. It's a song that I thought was really important to do. It's a song about women. It's Indigenous women. We've gone through a lot, but mainly missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. I think we still have to remind people this is happening, and it has been happening for so long. And it's time to also, show respect to women, all women. I mean, I'm, of course, personally talking about our women, me as a woman, but it's a very strong symbol, we make life, we make, so yeah. So I hope you'll enjoy it. It's actually in my little backyard with J.S. Williams, and I hope you get to enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you again so much for joining us tonight. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. We've been talking to Elisapie, and now let's take a deep dive into her music.
Music brings us together even when we're apart. That's why we're so proud to support Canadian music through events like the TD Ottawa Jazz Festival. It's just one more way that the TD Ready commitment is building a more inclusive tomorrow. Enjoy the show.
Hello, Ottawa Jazz.
You've been listening to the music of Elisapie, recorded in her beautiful little backyard in Montreal with J.S. Williams and Josh Toal, and she was our guest tonight on OLG Chats. Tomorrow we'll be coming to you at a different time than usual. We'll be here at 5 p.m. Eastern for a live transatlantic concert featuring the fabulous guitarist Joe Morris from Boston, trombonist Samuel Blazer from Berlin, trumpeter Craig Peterson from Montreal, and pianist Tanya Gill from Toronto, and you won't want to miss that. Until then, I'm James Hale. Thank you for joining us this evening. As always, stay cool, keep supporting the music, and good night.
Bye.